Anyone listening, if you're in university, don't do what I did. I do not recommend this. Hi, guys. Welcome back to a new episode of the Vertex Podcast, where we go behind the scenes with artists, designers, and other creative people in the world of games. Today's guest is someone whose work you have seen, even if you may not know it. We are joined by Marcin Klicki, who is a senior character artist at CD Projekt Red and has worked on some of the most iconic titles, including The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077. And we are going to be diving deep into the world of character and creature art. So let's get started. Marcin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Hello, guys.
So the first question I want to ask is, what was the first thing that sparked your interest in digital sculpting and creature design?
This question always, it's always getting me, to be honest. I just like the characters from the beginning. People like the cars, for example, they just love how cars are designed, how they look, how the lamps look, everything, the small details. And I had the same thing from, as I remember, to the human characters. Not entirely lately it kind of shift more into a different direction, like monsters and this kind of thing. Yeah. But I always loved how character look, to be honest, how they are presented in the comic books, for example, right? Yeah, my thing just.
Now, while I was doing some research on you, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I found that you were a self-taught artist.
Yep.
That is incredible, just learning everything from scratch on your own. What were those early learning days like for you? And was there a particular moment where you were like, oh, actually, I can do this for a career?
Yeah, actually there was like the thing like that. But at the beginning, I was just doing this stuff for fun, as I think, like as everyone, to be honest. Probably it started when I was like 14 years old, maybe a bit earlier. I went to my friend. I saw 3D Studio Max. I think it was called 3ds Max or something like that. I don't remember right now, to be honest. And he showed me the character created in that software, right? And I couldn't sleep all that night, and I was like thinking, this is absolutely incredible that you can do this with your computer, right? I was in shock, and I decided that I will do this. So at the beginning, I was just having fun. I was like trying to learn something from the help that is inside of the software. But back then, that there was no internet, no video tutorials. You couldn't go and grab some workshop and just be taught by somebody that actually he's already way in front of you. Like everyone was at the beginning, So yeah, we learned from the from the tutorials and from the help that is inside of the 3ds Max. I believe it was 3ds Max 1.1. It was first 3ds Max that was for the Windows 95, I believe, but maybe my brain is already lying to me. So, but it was a long time ago. And the next huge step was the ZBrush, the ZBrush 2.0, right? Because that was the ZBrush when where people were actually starting to do amazing stuff. And I remember on ZBrush Central there was this tutorial. Marcin Klicki, he recorded the fish tutorial, and this tutorial was like, I don't know, very small resolution, right? And I was learning the interface from that tutorial. So I was like, randomly pausing the video, and I was like checking, okay, so he's clicking somewhere here. So I was trying to actually find the same button. That was the breaking point, in my opinion, because the ZBrush was like game changer, in my opinion. Like it was huge change. At the beginning, I wasn't aware that this is like the totally game changer for the people that actually doing 3D. But when I saw what actually people can do, I was super impressed. I was trying to catch them up. I remember the not video tutorial, but the real demo reel from the Alex Huget, and and that there was like a couple of monsters and couple of human figures, and also that was that was my breaking point. Like I was trying to be like go into that direction as this dude were back then. Yeah, amazing stuff. He was like doing amazing stuff. Huge inspiration, to be honest. Yeah, and after that, like there was a couple of years when I was doing some illustration stuff. Like I was trying to find, like I understood from the beginning that I like. Oh, sorry, that I like to do the characters, but it was so hard for me to actually to get into the career that actually will support that path, because I was doing adverts, I was doing some films, I was doing some random stuff like figurines and other stuff, right? But I believe that, of course, like many different people can have totally different experiences. I'm only talking about what I believe that is correct for me. So in my opinion, the games are really supporting the character designers, the character modelers, right? Like you can really spend a lot of time on your precious model that will go into the game. But yeah, it was hard for me to actually find the career that will support the characters. So I was really doing some random stuff. And you need to remember also that was different kind of different times, right? In Poland, like there was a lot of game studios, but most of them were really shaky, And what I mean by that is like, if they failed at one project, the studio was collapsing basically, right? So I was like, I was really scared back then to join the company. I heard a lot about the crunch and stuff like that. So I went slightly into a different direction, but yeah, everywhere is crunch. Like in adverts and in film industries is exactly the same. If you want to do something cool, you need to spend additional hours, and I'm not saying that this is normal, but this is something that you need to be prepared for. And yeah, after that couple of years also passed, I was like switching the companies. I was trying to find something that will really support the artist, right? And back then it was 2012, I believe. Yeah, I joined the CD Projekt, and yeah, from that day I'm like staying here, and I'm like trying to get better and better.
That is incredible. That's a very incredible journey, especially when you mentioned that there weren't a lot of tutorials out there. Because now I won't speak for other artists, because I'm sure there are plenty of people who in today's world, they watch some YouTube videos, they watch some tutorials, they're able to get a hang of it. I didn't. I struggled a bit even with tutorials. I was like, my model is not turning out how it's supposed to be. So to me it is absolutely fascinating that without you taught yourself everything without a lot of tutorials, and you figured it out yourself. And when it comes to trying all different industries, be it films, miniature figures, and then traversing through all those routes and then coming to games, that to me is a very good example of just gaining experience. And now I know there'll be a lot of people who'll be listening in who'll be like, oh my God, she's doing this thing of like gain experience as an artist. Like, hear me out. I'm not saying get paid in experience. I'm saying just gaining experience to learn what you like and what you don't like, because there are so many people out there, young people, who want to find their passion, who want to know what they want to do. And a lot of the times we may have a habit of going to Google and trying to find out like, what should I do? What is my passion? How do I figure out my passion? The way to do it is just go out there, start, like try a bunch of things. You might like it, you might not like it, you may fail, you may succeed, but in that something will click. Something will be like, oh, I actually like this, I want to do this for a career, and it'll like set you off on the right path. So that, when you said that you went into miniature, you went into films, you tried different things, my brain was like, yeah, this is reinforcement that you just need to go out and start trying so that you can figure out what you like. And there's so many of our listeners might be trying to break into the industry. So if you had to give one advice to your younger self when you were starting out, what advice would you give to your younger self?
There is a lot of advices. So first of all, probably be less humble and try to push the doors. So because like when I was like sending my portfolio and CV, right? If somebody was like not answering like once, right? I was like giving up. And in my opinion, this is like huge mistake. So basically, what I would do right now is I would say like, if you like the company and you really want to work in that company, every character you finish, update portfolio, send your application. That's it. Like, try to just push it a bit harder. And of course, it all depends where you are. Like, try to be, guys, like, because I know that we artists have this tendency to just focus on the art side, right? But you just try to be more like analytical. I hope that this is the right word. And what I mean by that is like, try to think what is good for you, right? Because sometimes if you are at the beginning of your career, right, probably the top studios are not the place to go at the start. You should find something smaller to break into the end industry, gain some experience, right? And then just try, and eventually you will get in, right? But just don't get stuck at one studio, for example, right? Because you will gain, if you will go to the work and you will work with the different artists, they will see what kind of guy you are, right? They will know you, maybe they will even like you, right? So if they will go into, I don't know, like Blizzard or Activision or whatever, right? They will say like, okay, I know the guy that was cool and I like to work with him. Maybe we can get him, right? So, like, sometimes staying at home is not the best idea, right? And just, I'm talking about this when you are stuck because you want to work at the specific company and you doing everything just to get into that specific place, right? You never know. Maybe you will go into a smaller company and you will like it even more. So, why not?
Yeah, so basically just being a bit more open-minded,
Exactly.
that if you don't get your dream company, you can start maybe at a different place, regardless of whether the company is big or small, and then work your way to the dream company. And also network, like speak to people and do your best wherever you do get your first job, so that when you leave a good impression, they go to let's say your colleague goes to a different company, a big company, and they go, hey man, I know this person, this artist, really cool person, knows what they do, does their job really well. I would say if you're looking for someone like that, I know the person.
Exactly.
Like, you could land your next job like that. And honestly, that's how at least my career has panned out so far, because so far all the jobs that I've gotten, it's actually more through networking and less through actually sitting down, applying and sending out a form. So yeah, folks, if you this we actually discussed this topic in one of the previous podcast episodes, that you need to get out there. It can be intimidating to walk up to someone, strike a conversation, but I think it's talking to people is a little similar to creating art. Like, when you first start drawing, you can't draw, right? You all of us make some number of bad drawings, and it's a similar fashion when you go talk to someone. It will be awkward at the beginning. You might be like, I don't know what to say, I don't know how to start a conversation. And to that, I would say, just start. Like, try finding being curious is one way to talk to people, to ask them, what do you do? What do you like? Learn about them. That alone will give you so many ways to start a conversation. And for all you know, like, you might end up finding that you have common interests. So it
Exactly.
sparks more good relationships that way. And the gaming
And
community is fantastic. So
exactly. And in my opinion, it's really, really great example that you said, because, for example, for me, right? Um, you know, uh, talking is very hard, not only, in my own language, but also if we are talking about the English. And sometimes I have like nice sentences in my head. And this is exactly like in drawing. You draw something, you have perfect picture imagined, and but your hand is just don't want to do this, right? Your hand don't want to render it in, and this is super frustrating. And exactly the same is with using the English, right? So sometimes you know what you want to say, but you say it and it sounds super awkward, right? But you just need to do it. Yeah, so that's the that's the yeah, that's the goal, I think.
practicing really improves skills a lot.
Yeah, like
So,
using those
yeah.
stuff is actually, yeah.
And since we are talking about practicing, obviously, like it's taken you a lot of practice to get where you are. And today you craft a lot of creatures, a lot of characters. From your perspective, what makes a great character or a great creature? Like, what separates a good sculpt compared to a memorable sculpt, something that people will remember?
Definitely, like I have the one thing in my mind, but it's not something that you can do as an artist because like it's combined, like it's work that is combined together by two artists. So one is the narrative artist that is giving the soul to your character by just, by designing the character from the inside, right? And you are doing the other part. So you are like giving the character the looks that you think that character should have. So yeah, I believe that this is the most important piece. Like even if you will think about the monsters from The Witcher, right? What kind of monsters are most memorable? In my opinion, those that have personality, right? So for example, if you can talk with the monster and you can feel that it's not entirely a monster, but also so there is something inside that character that is actually driving the character and also feels and thinks, right? You can kind of get along with that creature, even if at the end this is a monster that you will decide if you want to kill it or not, right? Um, because of that you really remember those characters, and of course huge monsters probably are super memorable, uh super intimidating, right? And of course super freaky, uh but still my pick number one is the character of the character.
So it's basically a balance between both, like the visual appearance and also how the character is written, the backstory, their personality,
Exactly.
how they talk. So, okay, it's a balance between both. And um, since that there is a balance between that, I want to lean a little more towards visuals. So
Mhm.
when you are designing a character from scratch, especially a creature, if you're designing a creature from scratch, how do you balance between creativity and making the creature look believable, like it could potentially exist somewhere in this universe?
Mhm. Oh, that's the tough one. So basically, a lot of iterations. So um, basically, your first couple ideas are the bad ideas. Are okay. Yeah, in most of the cases, couple first ideas they are like cliche, and everyone already saw that, right? Um, and this is also like something that you need to learn just to not be connected to your work. And I understand that this is super hard to do, but those are only the sketches, so you cannot be attached to those things. That's the first thing. The second thing is like we are getting like the small briefs, right? So somebody already imagined the character, um let's say, uh, from the story part, and you already know more or less what kind of character it should be, right? So it is a bit it is a bit like easier just to kick your imagination a bit, right? And of course, at the beginning, you need to find the references, you need to look what you don't want to do, right? And then the iterative process. So you start to do so, like you start by the most cliche idea that you have, right? And you iterate on it, right? So after like a couple of iterations, then you can actually start to show your stuff to somebody. But this is also something that you need to be aware that at some point you need to be able to do your own decisions, right? Because when you are breaking the, so for example, you have the specific laws if you are doing the characters, right? So you have the proportions and stuff like that, right? But if you know what you want to do and you break it just to, just to make the character look weird, right? Getting the feedback back, it will be problematic, right? Because when you will show it to somebody, different people get different tastes. So when you will show something, people cannot understand it exactly what you want to do. So at some point, you need to be really prepared for, like, you need to be prepared to stay behind you, right? And just to tell yourself that you are doing like good decision. And of course, the best designs are those designs when most people don't like it, and the second part of most people like it, and people just talk about it, and they are arguing why this design suck or why this design is cool. This is good design in my opinion, when people are talking about it, right? Because if you have standard design, people will like just, they will just go to on the art station, they will look at it, they will see like, okay, this is beautiful, and that's it. Nobody remember about it, right? But if your design is slightly, I don't remember the word. Uh, oh my God, but electrizing? So
Eccentric?
polarizing. No,
Polarizing,
polarizing.
okay. Okay.
So some people like it, some people don't. Sorry. Yeah, and in my opinion, this is good design, right? When people talk about it, and I think like there is a master of those kind of designs. Uh, yeah, okay, but yeah, it's not
Yeah.
important.
That is again like interesting. Learning to stand behind yourself, learning to stand up for yourself and for your designs. That is something a lot of artists I think could do with that advice, because oftentimes artists can be so self-critical where um there are times we'll create something and we'll be extremely critical of it. We'll point out flaws in our own work where we are like, this is wrong, this is not making sense, this is not okay. And while that is good to, be self-critical and try and refine your work, at the same time, it's also important to have that confidence in yourself that at one point you stop, you tell yourself, this is good. And we are going to move on to the next stage with the design. It really helps just to have that level of confidence and also that level of decisiveness, because at some point you need to learn to make decisions on your own. It's always great to ask for feedback and review and,
Hmm.
you know, get critique and you can improve your art. But at one point, obviously, like if you're in a workplace, you need to learn to decide things for yourself. And in during the iterative process, if it's not working out, someone will let you know that, hey, I know you decided to create the character like this, but it's not meeting the brief, so let's refine that, and that is okay. So talking about iterations, characters, and backtracking a little to when you said that a memorable character is the one where there's a visually it's great, but there's also like a great personality for the
Hmm.
character, it's written well. So it's one aspect to have a character written very well, but leaning to the visual side again, how important is storytelling to you when you're designing a character? You want to, how do you communicate a story through anatomy, through clothes, maybe someone's posture? How
Exactly.
important is that
Hmm.
to you?
Yeah, so the posture is in my opinion, the posture is the most important part of the basic design, right? So what we do right now, getting away from A pose, T pose kind of characters at the beginning, right? So at the beginning, we are just, designing the character how we think it should look inside of the game. So it already will help the animator to actually understand what kind of idle pose your character should have, right? So, in my opinion, yes, this is like selling. This is the selling point of your character. So if you're designing your creature, and like I would say that, yeah, it shouldn't be in a straight lines. It should be really, really almost action figure, something like really close to it. Maybe not entirely, but somewhere close. So you want to really put your character in the pose that will support the storytelling of your character. So if your character is strong, right, you are you need to pose it in a specific way to show that, okay, this character is strong. So the rest is only like complementing the stuff, right? So if you will add some, I don't know, buckles or some stuff like that, it's only the complementing part of what you already established at the beginning. Then yeah, that's it.
Yeah, when you put it in that perspective, I can see how posture is probably the most important aspect when you're conveying, because posture, I have noticed, not just in art, even in humans, it conveys so much. So when, for example, one of my favorite examples is Superman, because he's a superhero, he's tall, he's muscular, he's strong, he's powerful. And there's this in when I have studied a little bit of like body language. So when you think there's this posture called the Superman pose, where you sit up straight, you pull your shoulders back, your hands on your hips, so you're standing. That's called the
Mhm.
Superman pose, but that's conveying so much power, so much confidence, authority. So that does make a lot of sense, that how something as simple as a posture could convey so many different meanings. Um, and I really like that perspective. It's very cool. And again, backtracking to when we were talking about critique and reviews and feedback. So let's say someone comes to you
Mhm.
with a creature they have designed or a character they have designed, and they ask you for some feedback. What are the first three things you would immediately take notice of?
Proportions.
Okay.
The second one is probably, the overall look, if it's aggressive or more like a creature, right? So I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, like I would like look for the character, like, personality of the character, right? Because it's super important. And the number three, I like, yeah, the design probably. So proportions, personality, design at the end. Oh, actually funny, because I was thinking that design will be the first at the beginning. Okay, no. Okay, okay.
That is
So
all
yeah,
right.
in that order. Okay.
Okay. So proportions, personality, and then overall design of the character. So, could you walk us through your general workflow when you start on a new character or a new creature, from concept art to final product?
Mm,
How do you go about it?
okay, so right now we are doing the like mostly the gameplay kind of driven workflow. So what we do at the beginning is, first we have the concept, but the concept is, we treat the concept as an inspiration. So it's we want to get somewhere close, but in my opinion, like, I'm talking about, like, I'm talking for my team, right now. So don't get me wrong, right? Maybe different departments have different idea, but I'm talking about from my perspective. So uh, I believe it's better when two artists are working on the same piece, than one artist. And what I mean by that is, like, if you only redoing what concept artists did, you are the 3D printer, basically, right? So you're not giving anything on top of you already had on the basic idea, right? In my opinion, it's better Of course, it's more dangerous process because you can go into direction that nobody like, and you need to rethink it, you need to iterate, you need to do additional work. But in my opinion, it's better when two artists are working together. So first you have concept, but the concept is only an inspiration. Then 3D artist is taking the concept, he look at it, and he's trying to do his version of that concept, you know? So it's not one-to-one copy. It's mix in between. So you have your own taste, right? You have your own ideas. So you can try to do some small things differently. The basic goal is to have more or less the same personality on both, right? So if you have super aggressive concept, you want to have super aggressive character, right? But the design can slightly change. And if you will look at our work from The Witcher 3 or even Cyberpunk, you can see this like the concept is slightly different than the final product, right? And in my opinion, this is the best. Okay, in my opinion, this is the best approach. Okay, because artists are, I don't want to say that strange people, but in some way, everyone wants to be happy, right? So if you treat the 3D artist as a printers, they are not happy, right? We also want to do the stuff, right? And I know that we are like, we need to do the project, so we need to kind of like follow the overall like Bible, like art Bible for
Yeah.
for the project. So it's super risky, but in my opinion, it's worth it, right? So yeah, so we take the concept, we do the basic draft, we put that basic draft into the game, and then the guys from the gameplay are actually designing the gameplay on top of that. So we wait a couple of months. Then, of course, we do different things, right? But yeah, we wait a couple of months. Then if the guys have requests, for example, they want to change something because they need to have something that will support the gameplay, right? So you need to, from time to time, go in, change something, add something, remove something, iterate on something, right? And at the end, when you are getting the accept for the character, you are getting accept for the basic draft, then you can do the high poly. And this is the longest part, right? Because it takes like a couple of weeks. And after this, low poly, bakes, textures, sometimes the basic skinning, but right now we are getting really, really a lot of support from the rig department, and then export to the engine. More or less, this is how it works. It really sounds more more. It sounds complicated than it is, to be honest. It's super simple workflow.
I think it's a simple workflow. It's just probably sounding complicated because it's time consuming
Exactly.
and that there's just a lot of steps, lot of back and forth, lot
Back
of
and forth.
iteration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you said that you don't use the concept, like there's no point in copying the concept
Mhm.
exactly how it is. So you sort of, would I be correct if I say you sort of treat it a little more like a reference? Okay.
People need to understand that there is like different steps when you are learning, right? And this is normal. Like at the beginning, you are copying because you want to learn by copy someone that you admire, and this is absolutely normal. And sometimes you just do this stuff, even even like maybe unintentionally. Like you like something so much that you're, I don't know how it works, but you are landing with your stuff somewhere close to it, just randomly. And this is absolutely normal. Like when you are trying to draw, you are copying. Like at least this is how I did it when I was like going to the primary school. So I was taking the image, I was putting it on the bottom, and then the white paper on top, and I was like, copying the lines, right? And I was drawing, right? And I think like this is exactly how you are learning at the beginning, right? But of course, the goal is to get so good at it that at some point you can do your own stuff, and this should be your goal. right? So you will feel when you are ready to do your own stuff, right? Because like this is normal when you are like, for example, copying, like you are copying the human figure, right? Why you are doing this? Because you want to learn the anatomy, right? You want to learn how the shapes work together. You want to learn how what kind of like masses are like how they are combined together and why they are look like they look, right? So you cannot learn it by drawing apples, right? You need to copy the human figure, right? And uh, I don't believe, like, of course, different people have different opinions, right? But we are really getting into the really strange times, and we have. I don't want to get into that topic. So sorry for that pause, but I
That's
don't
all
want to
right.
get the topic of the like topic of the AI because I don't know how I should feel about it, to be honest. But yeah, they don't like AI don't care about about what kind of reference you are using, right? Um, and at some point, like if you are learning and you are building the skill, I don't believe that you should also think about it, in my opinion. But um, yeah, but of course, your final goal should be, designing and creating your own stuff. And of course, you need to understand like one guy will figure it out in 2 years, right? He will learn in 2 years that okay, he wants to do his own stuff, right? But the other human being will be like, he will do stuff from the concepts and from the ideas from different artists for 10 years and he will never think about maybe it's time to do my own stuff, right? But yeah, you're like most if you think about yourself as an artist, uh your goal should be to do your own stuff at some point, right? And I'm not rushing you guys, don't get me wrong. It's not that, like, just keep that something just behind your head and that's it.
Yeah, it's more about just having that commitment that even if you've started and you're just tracing art, it's okay, you're learning. And as long as you put in the time, the effort to just practice little by little, eventually you'll reach a point where you will notice a significant change, that how much you've improved. And at that point, you would feel ready that okay, I think I've improved to a level where I am ready to do some original art myself, like create something of my own. So it's more about just um spending that time just improving your craft. Going back to sculpting, is there is there any difference between when you are sculpting, if you know that the character is going to be used in a cinematic or a character is going to be used in gameplay, is there any
Mhm.
difference between how you sculpt those characters?
No, absolutely no.
It's the same.
It's the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I'm
um
trying to
yeah.
put as much detail as I can on any character. Of course, the one thing that is kind of like game changer is the time. How much time you can put on this character, and what amount of time you can put on that character. And it of course it depends on the let's say the tier of the character, right? So if you have the boss, it's different amount of time for that character, and if you have like one hitter, there is a different amount of time for that character. But I always try to put the same amount of effort to those characters. And of course, um, yeah, it is how it is. Like sometimes your stuff is better, sometimes your stuff is worse. This is how it is. Yeah.
I think it's just a bit like a roller coaster. Sometimes
Exactly.
you make amazing things, and then there are times you're like, it's okay.
The funny thing
um
that I noticed
yeah.
is like in many cases, this is what I have. Like when I don't like the stuff that I did, and I was like, oh my God, this really is, this is really bad, right? People like it. And when I feel that I did the masterpiece, people don't care. Like I don't know why it is like that, but really, like 99% of time is exactly like that. So I already know. that when I do something and when I like it too much, it's shit. It's just shit.
I can relate because I've had similar experiences where I'm creating something and I might think this is bad, this is terrible, and then when I show it to other people, they're like, "Yeah, this is really
Yeah,
nice. I like it."
exactly.
It
Yeah,
is
I don't know why it is like.
it is confusing, and neither do I actually. I Another thing that I have noticed personally is um I think the less I think when I'm creating, the nicer it comes out. And
Yep.
when I don't spend too much time on it, like I had this one particular experience when I was still in university and I was doing game art. There was a project, like I spent two months on making this environment, and I showed it to my professor for a review before I submitted it, and my
Hmm.
professor was like, this is okay, you need to improve more on it. And then I still had like 2 weeks left to submit the project, and I remember just this was absolutely crazy. I do not, anyone listening, if you're in university, don't do what I did. I do not recommend this, but I scrapped my entire 2 months of work and I started afresh at the while I had 2 weeks left to turn in the project. So at the end of those 2 weeks, I was sleep deprived. I was almost like so exhausted. But my professor looked at it. He was like, this is a nice environment. Yash, this is a good
Hmm.
job. I like it. And I was like, so you didn't like what I spent 2 months on, but you are like 2 weeks. Yeah, this is nice work. Good job. Like,
Exactly. Yeah, but I also noticed another thing, like when I'm sitting and I'm like putting a lot of pressure on my head. Like, for example, what I mean, like, it's like, okay, this model will be the best model in my career. Right now, I'm doing the masterpiece, and this is always catastrophic ending, right? Nobody like it. I don't like it. People don't like it. Friends don't like it. Nobody like it. I constantly feel that I'm doing something wrong, right? You don't have this kind of like how to translate it. You don't have this kind of like fresh eye. This is the one part of it, and the second part is I need to translate the word. Sorry. Uh, let's say the chill, the chill, like the, you know what I mean? Like you don't care too much, so you are taking the risk. You are trying to do some different
yeah,
things, and it's
you're not pressuring.
automatically,
Yeah,
exactly,
you're
and
not
it's
pressuring yourself.
automatically working out for you, right?
Yeah.
But when you are like putting the pressure on yourself and you are like thinking, yeah, this character right now, this is going to be the best I ever done. Okay, bro, just don't do it. Like it's always like ending up really
Yeah.
bad.
It's the same. Like, for me, if I sit down, I do a lot of environment art. If I sit down out and I'm thinking of like a concept of what I want to create, and if I sit down thinking I'm going to create something so magical, I want to come up with some really cool, really unique ideas. The second I have that thought in my mind that I want a very unique, cool idea, I know I'm not getting a unique, cool idea. And then three, like it's not going to happen. I'll sit there for 1 hour and then I'll just get up and leave because I'm like, I can't think of a cool, unique idea. Everything seems generic. But then 4 hours later, when I am in the shower with shampoo on my head, I'll suddenly get a good idea. And
Exactly.
it's like at the weirdest time. It's usually when you're the most relaxed, I think you just end up with like really good ideas.
Yeah.
So,
That's why just, when you are
yeah,
working, like try to get as much as like chill as you can. Just
yeah,
do stuff and enjoy the process. I
yeah,
think that's the best way. And of course, you are like you don't need to be the master, right? So it's okay. Even the masters, they do great things and they do bad things, right? So it's okay when you are when you also do crap, right? It's
yeah.
absolutely normal, right? So yeah.
So, do you ever struggle with perfectionism, where you're like trying to perfect a particular character or creature, and then you just spend endless time on it, and
Yeah.
you realize that it's not happening? And how do you overcome that?
When you are at work, it's super hard because sometimes you are just, passing the point of no return, right? And you just need to, let it go, right? And sometimes months later, you are like, you are trying to do, for example, the textures or shaders or different things on that character, and you are not happy at all. Yeah, it's heartbreaking sometimes. So yeah, you need to learn just to let it go. And as I told you, right, even masters are doing crap at some point. So it's okay. You don't need to do the perfect stuff. Okay is also okay, right? But sometimes it's heartbreaking. I
Yeah.
totally understand it. But of course, if I doing the private project, if I'm not happy with something, I'm just not continuing it, right? So if I cannot, like, for example, let's say that I'm working on some project on my own, right? And my task was to actually kind of invent the way how the characters look in that project, okay? And for months I was really struggling to find some interesting stylized like stylization for those characters, and that was the most frustrating time of my life, I think, because I was like constantly like showing my friends the work, and 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 they didn't comment it, right? They was like, "Oh, okay." So that's the that's the you know that you hit the rock
Yeah.
bottom, right? Yeah, so yeah, I was struggling a lot, and I just learned that, sometimes you can spend so much time, and you can just really put uh, a lot of work, but the character is broken at the basics, and you just cannot
Yeah.
fix it. It's just broken, right? You just need to leave it and start different stuff. And I noticed that in most of the cases, right? Uh, yeah, you should do couple of, like, for example, you want to do the character, do 5 sketches, do 10 sketches, like 1 hour sketches, do 10 sketches, pick the one that you like the most. And yeah, this is something that I should tell myself like 2 years ago. Probably probably I would be less bolding right now. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Um, another thing I would just like to add to that, something again that I've learned from my personal experience, and also something that I discussed with a different guest in a previous episode, is to start simple. Because I'd made this mistake where when I was starting out, the very first prop I'd ever made was an
Mhm.
axe. And I thought it was going to be this really cool axe with this really nice leather handle, and it's going to be really a sharp blade, and it's going to look so cool. And the truth is, I was not at that level where I could create that level of quality and that level of complexity and detail. And when by the time I was done with the prop, I was like, okay, no, this is it's not the best. And I think I did learn from that you start simple, wherever your skill level is. If you're at level 1, try building something level 1. So from an axe, after the axe, the next thing I made was just a single screw, something far more simple. And I also switched to like a very simple table, like one plank with 4 legs. Just because when you do something that simple, you understand how your tool works, how you work, how to create simple shapes, and then you can sort of build on it. Uh, Going back to creatures and characters, is there a type of creature or character that you have always wanted to make, but you have not gotten an opportunity to do so yet.
Oh, yeah, of course. Like the all characters from Quake 1, all characters from Quake 2, all characters from Quake 3, maybe all characters from Doom, um, a couple characters for the Fallout. I love the Fallout series, to be honest. I watched it, I don't know, 50 times already. The season one, really recommend you guys. If you didn't watch it, do yourself a pleasure and just watch it. It's absolutely amazing. I think it's one of the best series ever existed. Uh, yeah, that's it. Like I just
Okay.
I just like those games. I recently played the Quake RTX, actually the Quake 2 RTX, so it's okay. Also the characters from the Half-Life, they are also amazing. Yeah, I got a lot of work.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You've taught many students and you've given quite a few
Mhm.
master classes. What are some of the most common mistakes you see beginner artists make?
Not listening to feedback.
Okay.
That's the most
Yes.
important stuff, right? So if you are taking the class, listen to the feedback, right? And of course, apply the feedback because it's not only about listening, but also applying, right? Yeah, that's the most important stuff. But don't get me wrong, I'm not. This is not something like that I have like um I don't know, like that I don't like this in people. It's not about that, right? Because I have the same kind of problem, right? Just if you are going to all master classes, be open-minded. Don't treat this project as the project that will open the doors for you, and it will grant you all the work in the universe. Just treat this as an opportunity to learn, and after that class, try to do your own character to actually grant you the place in the studio, right? Because like when you are going into the class, like try to get as much information as you can. Like even if your character at the end is going to get butchered, right? It's okay if you learned a lot. That's it.
Yeah, the whole purpose of attending a master class or signing up for a course is that you are learning from someone who has been been in your place at some point and has grown so much and has been in the industry long enough. So they have obviously a lot more experience. And like you said, that the project you make in the course need not necessarily be your job winning project, but if you can apply all that these people have to teach, so if you can take that learning and apply it into your separate personal project, that could end up in just becoming like a job winning portfolio piece for you. It's just a
Just
matter of like learning.
exactly, just focus on being a better artist, right? So if you are
Yeah.
going, just learn, and then you will have the skills to do something better, right?
Yeah, and speaking of portfolio pieces, in your opinion, what type of, especially for people who are making
Mhm.
characters and creatures, in your opinion, what types of pieces make recruiters stop and like actually take a look?
That's a really good question. I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea. I can tell you uh, what kind of things I'm looking for when I'm like
Yeah.
trying to hire somebody.
Yeah.
So in most of the cases, I love to see the personal projects, right? Because the personal projects are the real representation of your skill. And people don't, I think people, like most people, also don't understand this, right? So if I see the guy that only have like projects done inside of the studio, it's not his work. It's just not, right? He's like, it's
Yeah.
team effort, right? So I don't know what kind of skill you are at the moment, right? But when you look at his personal projects, right, you have opportunity to see what kind of skill the guy have, right? And I don't care, it doesn't need to be 50 models or something, like 2, 3 models, personal projects are enough, right? And you will already know if the guy is actually good or not.
So quality over quantity.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And what's your advice for artists who feel like they're stuck, where they feel like their skills are not improving and they are, losing motivation to keep going?
Hmm. Yeah, just do more. It's
Yeah.
there is nothing more than that. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
everyone have this thing, and the f- uh, and for what you need to look like before you are leveling up. You have this exactly what we talked like I don't know 15 minutes ago. You have this kind of thing that your brain is already seeing the things a lot better than your
Yeah.
hand can do. So this is like the darkest point before you will level up because your hand will actually, get in the same place as your brain. So yeah, you need to just do more.
Yeah.
And of course, guys, try to not push too much pressure on yourself, right? Like um, yeah, like yeah, your well-being is also super important. So if you don't feel that you like, for example, you don't feel that you want to model something, it's absolutely fine. Play the game, go to the gym, do whatever you like. Like you need to understand that this is a sinusoidal process. So
Hmm.
sometimes you just don't do anything and you're relaxing and having fun,
Yeah.
and then a couple months later you are doing overtime
Yeah.
and you are not sleeping at all, but you are just having, you know this kind of like 2 months that you are just doing so much work. And I was really also struggling with this, and also like I'm struggling with this like all the time because this is how we are designed. And at some point you just need to you know accept it.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I think it's like you said, it's a matter of one, being kind to yourself and looking out for your own well-being, and two, it's consistency. This is something I've noticed in people, where I think the way a lot of people think consistency looks like is, a lot of people, I've noticed a lot of people think consistency is the ability to show up every single day exactly the same. Like one day you woke up, you're very energetic, you got a great concept done, you did some good work, you have a nice project that's started well. And then I've seen sometimes people think, oh, if I want to be consistent, I need to show up every single day, high energy. Every single day, I need to do good work and I need to get this going. And I need to do it like 7 days a week. And the thing is, that's not what consistency looks like.
Good
The
luck
what
with that.
Yeah, good luck with that. Exactly. Like it's not going to happen. What actual consistency looks like is, one day you wake up, if you're energetic that day, you got a concept done, started doing some good work, and the next day you were like low energy, you were tired, and maybe you did like 1 hour of work, and then you're like, I don't feel like it, but you allowed yourself to go for a walk, play a game, do something. But and then the third day you were like, okay, I feel a bit better, I'll do some more work. As long as you get even a little bit done, that is good. That is
Exactly.
consistency. Because you don't have to do 100% every day. If you can even get 1% done, that is still improvement, that is still movement. So be kind to yourself. Like if you feel too tired, if you feel like you can't draw or create, you're going to get nothing from pushing yourself. You'll probably just put yourself in a bad mood. You'll probably lose health. Don't do that. Just get rest, go out with friends, maybe play a video game, do something that will make you feel a bit better. It's as long as you like, and please remember, as long as you get even a little bit done, that's improvement, that's consistency, because you got something done that day. So
Exactly. And it
yeah.
doesn't need to be like with the work that you did, that you done. Like, for example, watch tutorial, do something that will just, push you in the artistic perspective, and
Yeah.
even if you will just look for the references, you will do some stuff that is not entirely like, it's not art process, it's not
Yeah.
like creative process, right? But you are preparing yourself for the next day, for example, and stuff like that. It's, uh, yeah, like treat yourself well, to
Yeah.
be honest. Those are really wise words.
Yeah. It's just like you said, even doing those small things really add up because it might not seem a lot. Like maybe one day you sat down, you didn't feel like actually opening Maya and creating something, but you went to Pinterest and you got pictures as reference and you made a pure ref board. And that was it for the day. You like sat for 1 hour, you made a reference board, you left. That's still progress because tomorrow, when you have energy, when you're doing Maya, you open up your ref file because you have your reference board ready, so you're not
Exactly.
going to have to spend time doing it. So yeah, it's like
And
small steps.
exactly. And of course, like even when you look at the images, your visual library is also getting bigger, right? So it's not entirely like wasting time, right? So,
Yeah.
but of course, as you were saying, try to prepare the boards, right? Try to save those stuff. Like not only look at those stuff, but just prepare for the future. Like find something that you would like to do in a couple of days. Yeah,
Yeah,
that will really make a huge difference, right?
I agree. With regard to creativity, are there any personal projects that or any challenges that are coming up that you're excited about?
Mm, yeah, yeah, I'm working on some stuff, but I cannot tell you anything at the
Okay.
moment. But I'm working on a project with my friends, and yeah, it's taking me like most of my time right now.
Okay. And before we wrap up, the one last question is if you could bring, you have designed a lot of creatures, you have designed a lot
Mhm.
of characters. If you could bring one creature to life as your pet or as your companion, which one would it be and why?
That's fantastic question. Oh my God, like I would probably, okay, that's the God damn it, you. Because if I will say the monster, I will be the bad guy, right? Oh my God, no,
I
like
mean, it's only
probably
hypothetical.
no, it's not because the like I, I don't believe that I would like to have monster pet like the huge one, for example. Like
Yeah.
if I would say like Griffin, God damn it, it's huge. Like not pet for me, to be honest. Yeah, but for example, as a friend, I really like the Royce from the Cyberpunk,
Hmm.
and the beginning, like at the beginning for the demo number one, this character was totally different written. Like he was totally different. He had totally different personality. He was real psychopath, right? and
Yeah.
I loved and I loved it. And I loved that, to be honest. It was so well fitting to the outline, to the outside design, and probably that would be my character that I would pick. And if not, I would like if we are talking about the pet, right? I
Yeah.
didn't design it, but I
Hmm.
I did my like in my like free time I did like the fan art of the
Hmm.
head crab from the Half-Life.
Okay.
So probably that would be the better pet.
Okay.
Okay. A bit, a bit strange pet, but yeah,
But it's all hypothetical though, because it's all good. Nobody's gonna say that you're the bad guy. It's perfectly fine.
nobody
Um,
is going to get hurt, right? At least
no,
I hope so.
it would be a different world if all of us could have one character that could be a companion or like a pet in real life. That would be a different world to live in.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the closest
Less people probably would live on it.
I think the closest we've gotten to that is VR. If you're playing a game in VR, I think that's the closest we've gotten. But
Yet.
that's yeah, yet is the key word. So thank you so much for joining us today. It was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it was
And
pleasure. Thank you.
that was it for today, guys. And we'll see you again for a new episode next week. Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye. Thank you for having me. Bye. See
Thank
you.
you.